everybody, and welcome back to Sell More Academy, the mastermind for more sales. My name is Ben McGarry, and for the last 2 decades, I've spent nearly every day trying to figure out how to sell more stuff. I've been in the trenches selling my own products and services for years. I've built teams, companies, and systems that sell from Main Street, small town USA, all the way to Wall Street. And I've been fortunate enough to coach and consult for countless others worldwide, all in totaling over $150 million in sales. During that time, it has become painfully obvious that the marketplace is and always will be loud and noisy. These days, content creators and social media gurus promote clickbait tactics and short-sighted strategies that often cause more harm than good. It seems like everyone has all the tools at their fingertips, but no one really knows how to put it all together. Plus, what worked yesterday might not work today and will almost certainly be different again by tomorrow. And that's precisely why I started Sell More Academy, to build a community and a set of resources to help you stay ahead of the curve, to help cut through the noise and make sense of your next best step. At Sell More Academy, we focus on what we consider to be the 5 pillars of modern business success: AI, branding, marketing, sales, and systems. We bring this to you through a powerful combination of a vibrant mastermind community where you can connect with and learn from fellow high achievers and experts in the field, live masterclasses just like this one, where we dive deep into the strategies and tactics covering one pillar each day, a curated collection of resources, including free tools that we're building to help you sell more effectively, and our Sell More directory, connecting you with the pre-vetted providers and solutions that you need when it's time to outsource or just find the right tool for the job. Our goal here is to provide you with everything that you need to not only stay informed and competitive, but to sell a lot more stuff. And that brings us to today's masterclass, where we're exploring systems and automation. I'm excited to introduce and welcome back our presenter today, Anthony Hoshino, who will be delivering a comprehensive training session for us. Anthony is the founder and CEO of Pest AI, a company that has truly revolutionized the way that pest control businesses operate. He's not just a software founder, he's an actual systems architect who personally helped build a pest control company and scale them from 300K revenue to an incredible $5 million in revenue by implementing some of the very systems he's going to share with us today. He's the creator of a powerful methodology that's designed to solve what he calls the lead leakage problem, which is really the silent killer of growth for so many businesses. His approach is built on the principle of speed to lead, recognizing that the first 5 minutes are just absolutely critical for converting a prospect. He's developed a proprietary system that automates and integrates the entire sales process from lead capture to closing the deal. Mastering Anthony's approach to systems and automation will directly impact your bottom line. Today, you're going to learn how to build a predictable growth engine, eliminate the inefficiencies of manual follow-up, and free your team up to focus on high-value activities. This is about creating a business that starts to run itself so you can focus on selling more. By the end of today, you'll have a clear blueprint for building your own automated sales system. You'll understand how to leverage systems to create a 24/7 machine, and you should walk away with actionable strategies that you can implement immediately to increase your booking rates and drive more revenue. This is exactly the kind of tactical, systems-driven training that we need here at Sell More Academy, and we're excited for this to accelerate our growth. So with that, I would like to officially welcome back to Sell More Academy, Anthony Hoshino. Thanks for being here again, man. I appreciate you actually wanting to come share this with us. So the floor is yours. Have at it. I will, for the first time in Sell More Academy, I will shut up and just listen.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Man, your intros are just always top notch. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Let me go ahead and jump right in here for you guys. All right. So, we are here today because we need to talk about the real thing holding back growth for a lot of growing businesses. And it's not the sales team. I know everyone jumps right in there. Today's masterclass isn't about finding some new marketing hack. It's not about high pressure scripts. It's not about pushing people harder or even AI. I'm going to make a reasonable assumption here. A lot of you are doing a lot of things right. The phone rings, leads come in, conversations happen, sales close, at least some of the time. I'm assuming competence, not perfection. Now, that assumption matters because in this, I'm not talking to beginners. Most of you didn't stumble into owning or leading a business by accident. You figured things out, you adapted, you survived hard seasons. You've already proven that you can make money, which means today isn't about effort or intelligence. It's really about leverage. What we actually need to do is shift our focus from chasing more leads to protecting the ones that we already have. You aren't just selling a product or a service. You're buying the customer's trust through your response. The bridge between a lead and a customer is trust. Now, that trust is built in the moments before and after the phone rings. So today, we're going to take a look closely at what happens in those moments. Now, we all know the reality of a busy business. This is where the problem really starts. Picture your normal day, right? A phone is ringing, there's a client issue, an email, an internal interruption, there's a Slack message or a DM or a text, a team member with a question, something urgent's pulling your attention. Boom, a new lead comes in. Maybe it's urgent. Someone needs your help right now. Or maybe it's someone just considering a purchase, someone doing their homework, comparing options. Either way, the stakes for us are very high. A good conversation happens, notes are taken, the intention to follow up is completely genuine, but then that day keeps moving, right? Another problem. Another employee has a question. I will never forget this one summer in my first pest control company. The phones were just ringing off the hook. And at one point, I was on 2 calls at the same time. And in that moment, I thought, wow, I'm so good at this. I can do 2 sales at once. And I was just totally missing the bigger picture, right? 2 phones ringing at once. Someone says, I'll call them back after lunch, or maybe a callback is planned, but just not yet. Anyways, a few hours go by. Maybe the follow-up happens later, maybe tomorrow, maybe once, and then not again. Now, nobody made a bad decision. Nobody was purposefully careless. Everyone was doing their best. And this is the uncomfortable part. If effort fixed this, it would already be fixed. But that customer, they didn't disappear. They made a decision while we were busy. That lead didn't die. It just quietly slipped out the back door. When we feel leads slipping away, we fall back on the easiest assumption. We're all guilty of this, I'm sure. If we just had more leads, everything would be fine. And that feels true. The phone rings, some sales happen, revenue comes in. So we spend more money at the top of that funnel, more ads, more leads. But here's the truth. Most growing businesses don't actually have a lead problem. They have a system problem. We are spending serious money filling a funnel that is already leaking. And the real money isn't being lost at the top. It's being lost at what happens next. And so, as Ben mentioned, this is what we call the invisible loss. And it's the most dangerous kind. There's no alert, no dramatic failure, no moment where anyone on the team says, hey, we just lost that customer. They're lost through the missed calls, the slow callbacks, one system failure, and done. So what makes invisible loss so dangerous is that you don't see it. You don't see the customer who almost bought. You don't see the second follow-up that never happened. You don't see the message that was opened and ignored. And because you can't see it, it doesn't feel urgent. Because busy hides broken. When systems fail, we are not just losing revenue. I know as business owners, that's usually the first thing that comes to mind. We didn't get that sale, so we didn't make money. But what we're actually failing to do is to respect how some customers actually make their buying decisions. The most expensive losses in your business don't feel dramatic. They're the quiet ones that just walk away. So let's look at what the customer is actually doing while we're busy. From the customer's point of view, the timeline is simple. Right? As the business, it's complicated. All these things are happening. For a customer, it's really simple. A lead comes in, their life happens, they make a decision. Customers don't disappear. Leads don't just go away. They make a decision while we're busy. Here's the mismatch most businesses never account for. Your day is reactive. Their decision is intentional. You're responding to interruptions. They're evaluating risk. And silence doesn't feel neutral to a customer. Silence feels like uncertainty. And uncertainty kills momentum. Now, let's talk about that cost. Even when your marketing is working perfectly, poor follow-up makes it feel like a waste. Trust me, I have seen this in our own business, in Pest AI, many times. Full board, but where's the growth, right? You paid to make the phone ring or book up that calendar, get those demos going. But if you don't answer or you don't follow up or show up, that money is just gone. Every missed follow-up makes your next lead that much more expensive. And every missed follow-up teaches your business the wrong lesson. Spend more money, chase new opportunities, ignore what already came in. Now, that's not a marketing problem. That is a discipline problem. This was a turning point for me. I just want to tell you a quick story. Early on, I worked with a pest control company where the growth came very fast, as Ben described. And I was extremely close to the action. In fact, I was probably most of it. I was wearing a lot of hats and I was doing probably 80% of the sales that were coming in. And I was involved in the entire process from start to finish. And it worked. We grew quickly, right? The marketing worked, the sales worked, the team grew. But I eventually moved on and I went to another company to see if I could do it again. This time, my role changed. I wasn't doing the selling myself. I was managing a team. Now, I had other people selling with me before, but I was so busy, I wasn't really focused on what they were doing. And I really wasn't focused on what I was doing either. I was just focused on responding to every single call that came to me, hence answering two at the same time. So this time we were still spending on marketing. The phone was still ringing. I was training people how to sell like me. I was telling them how to follow up like me, but the results weren't the same. The cost went up, conversions went down. And that was so frustrating because the advice was sound, the effort for everybody was real, but something just wasn't working. I remember my friend from the first company, his voice just ringing in my ear. You need to figure out how to duplicate yourself. He used to tell me all the time. At first, I thought that meant I need to find people just like me, or I need to train people to sell just like me, or be more involved. But that wasn't it. What I realized was this: I didn't need to duplicate me. I needed to duplicate the process. By building a system, I could duplicate a lot of what I was doing, regardless of who was doing it. The system didn't rely on my personality. It didn't rely on my memory. It didn't rely on heroics. It ensured that the right thing happened the right way every time with every lead. And as I worked with more and more pest control companies, this pattern became impossible to ignore. Same industry, same tactics, same sales training, same marketing strategy, wildly different results. Some scaled, some stalled, some broke under growth. The difference was never effort. The difference was always the system. I could help make the phone ring. I could teach those people how to sell, but without the system, the results were just never the same. That's when it became just unavoidable to me. You can't scale talent. You can't scale hustle, but you can scale systems. That's what makes growth repeatable. That's what makes growth scalable. And this is what that ceiling really looks like. And ceilings are frustrating because you can feel them. You are busy. You are pushing uphill. There's activity everywhere. We've all been in this place of our business where we just feel like we are just nonstop working and doing so much, but the conversion doesn't match the effort. And it's tempting to think the answer is to just push harder, work harder, do more. But the problem isn't effort. It's actually design. You can't solve a system problem with sheer willpower. That never works. Trust me, I have tried many times, and Ben has stopped me many times in my effort of doing this. We just have to try harder. We must not be trying hard enough. No, the system is broken, and busy hides broken. So we need to rethink here what sales actually means. Sales isn't persuasion, it's presence. Marketing creates demand. Sales converts demand. but systems protect demand. Without systems, demand leaks. And without systems, demand compounds. Our job isn't always to just close everything on the first call, although that's great. And oftentimes in many industries, we do try to do that. But our real job is to protect every single opportunity that's coming our way. We never disappear on them. So what does that presence actually look like when it's designed? Now, this is a lot. And so I want to break it down so that everyone can actually understand what is on the screen. Every lead enters one place. Ownership is immediate. Outcomes are always visible. This isn't about replacing people. It's about protecting them from chaos. When systems handle processes, people have space to be human. And growth is no longer fragile. You can spend more on marketing with confidence. You're not guessing ROI, you're choosing it. So what we have on the screen here is an example of a system. Now, I'm not asking you to copy this, but this is a system that I have seen work many, many times. And while obviously I would normally be implementing this in a pest control company, I think it's applicable to many businesses out there. So what we have on the left here are every single source where your opportunities could come from, right? We have our digital marketing, we have our marketing agencies, our lead aggregators, our phone system, our website, our old data sets, everything you can think of. And it's all funneling into one system. And this is what we focus on building at Pest AI, but there are many systems that you can use to do this. When everything funnels into one system, then you can very easily have speed to lead. Automation is key. Now, whether that lead goes to a sales rep or to AI, totally up to you and your business, whether it's during business hours or after hours, but the key is speed to lead. Always be available. Now, the outcome from here is easy, right? Either you sell them on that first call or you don't. And if you do sell them, great. This system becomes very simple. You sell them, they go into your management system, you get them scheduled if it's a service business, right? You get out there, you do the appointment. But if you don't sell them, this is where the system really starts to have power. Maybe you send them an estimate funnel like we do, or a quote, right? Or a proposal, whatever it might be. And then from that, you have a very human, conversational, automated follow-up system happening. Now, the cadence could be different from business to business. In pest control, the sales cycle is very fast. And so it might be a text later that day and another text the next day and maybe an email and a follow-up call and the next day and the next day. And so, 14 days of very consistent follow-up. But the key to that follow-up is not just sending some spammy message. It's really sending a conversational, helpful note. I'm still here, and I'm here if you need my help. I'm not just trying to sell you. And so from that follow-up, you'll get more sales, and those will get scheduled and move on to the site, down the pipeline. But some you won't. Now, the key here is anything you don't sell does not get thrown away. It goes right back up to the beginning. The database reactivation campaigns, the educational nurture campaigns, whatever you can do to keep them in your cyclical system and never be gone. This is how you fix the problem of always having to just spend more to create opportunities. And you can do it on the other end too. You service the customer, you do a great service if you're a service business, or you get them the product and you get it to them quick if you're a product-based business, right? That turns into a good review. That turns into a referral. That turns into now a new lead. And that comes all the way back to the beginning and is now feeding your system. And so the key is to not just be stuck paying, like we said in the beginning, at the top of the funnel, but actually feeding it now from the other side, sealing all the holes so nothing is leaking. And now you have a system that will allow your business to scale effectively, but most importantly, predictably. Because when you build a system like this, you will eventually know, if I put this in, I will get this out. And that is very different than, well, let's spend more money and see if we grow. And I just can't, I can't hammer that in enough how important that is for a business to get out of the growth phase and move into the scale phase of having an actual system that creates predictable growth. It's going to make all the difference. Now, we need to make some promises here as business owners to our own business. And so I like to call these the declaration of standards. These aren't tools, they're standards. Ownership, visibility, follow through, and speed. These are leadership decisions you have to make. This is how you build a business that scales. Standard of ownership. One lead, one owner, no ambiguity. The lead comes in, somebody is responsible. Now, it can change teams, it can move from here or there, but nothing comes in and then you have guessing down the road of, well, what happened with that lead? Somebody has to be responsible. Standard of visibility. If you can't see it, you can't protect it. This is why we pull everything into one system. You have to be tracking the sales cycle. In pest control and in most service businesses, we're getting leads from all these different sources. And so I remember before I figured this out, I would have 10 tabs open, 10 screens, and I have leads over here and leads over there. And again, we're so busy and we're getting sales, so we think it's working, but we can't see what we're missing. And so visibility is so important in scalability. Number 3 is the standard of follow through. You keep showing up until a decision is made. Now, some people struggle with this because they feel like they're being pushy or persistent or annoying. But what I've realized is it's not necessarily just that you follow up. It's how you follow up that makes that change. If I send you spammy messages that aren't personal, then yes, I'm probably going to be seen as annoying. But if I'm sending you messages that really say, hey, I'm still here for you. You reached out to me. I'm here for you still. And I want to make sure that you've gotten the help, whether it's with me or not. It's going to become pretty rare that someone gets mad at you for staying present. And that's the huge difference in your follow-up. And number 4 is the standard of speed. Now, as a business owner, it's easy to think, oh, the standard of speed is I got to get these sales really quick. But it's different because we're focusing on the customer. So the standard of speed really is that disappearing can cost trust. We want to respond quickly because it shows that we are here and we care that you have reached out, right? And we want to follow up in a reasonable amount of time, and this varies based on what you're selling, but we want to follow up on a reasonable amount of time so that it doesn't feel like we forgot about them and then came back to it later and we're like, oh, do you still need us? We're here. right? And so if I give you a quote for pest control, for example, and I follow up with you the next day and I say, hey, Ben, just wanted to see if you had any questions on that estimate I gave you yesterday, right? That's speed. Now, if you don't hear from me for 2 weeks and I call you and I'm like, hey, Ben, we spoke a while back about those ants that were in your kitchen that day eating all your snacks. Did you ever get that taken care of? Right? There's no trust in that. Oh, yeah, I did. I went with somebody else. Thanks. Oh, okay, bye. Seen it so many times. So the standard of speed here is making sure that we are responding quickly and appropriately to the requests of our customers and in respect of what they need from us, even if we get the sale or not. And you never know, 6 months from now, maybe they went with another company, but they remember you because of your presence. And so they call you back. Hey, that didn't actually work, and I need another company. I went with them because they were a little bit cheaper, but I'd like to go with you guys now. So let's bring this all the way back to where we started. Sales was never the problem. Marketing was never the problem. Effort was definitely never the problem. The problem was we were asking people to perform consistently inside systems that didn't protect that consistency. Marketing creates demand. Sales converts demand. But systems are what decides whether that demand actually becomes growth or just quietly leaks away. When systems are weak, growth feels fragile. Every new lead adds stress. Every spike in dramatic growth creates chaos. But when systems are solid and in place, something changes. Your team stops scrambling. Your days are no longer just reactive. Your results are also no longer a mystery. Now, you can spend more on marketing because you know what's going to happen next. You know the leads are owned. You know follow-up's going to happen. You know decisions don't slip through the cracks. And you're no longer guessing ROI, you are choosing it. This is what scale actually feels like. It's not louder. It's not harder. It's not more heroic. Just calmer and clearer and most importantly, more predictable. So if there's one thing I hope you take away with you today, it's this. You don't scale always by finding better people. You scale by building better systems. Because when the system is right, even average people do excellent work consistently. And when your systems are built to protect trust, growth stops being stressful. It becomes repeatable, it becomes predictable, and it becomes intentional. So thank you. Let's go build businesses that scale on purpose.
Man, that was fantastic. That was thank you for sharing that, putting it together for us. Thanks for sharing it with us. I've written probably as many notes as I've ever written on any of these, maybe more. I'm running out of space.
Thanks for letting me give it, man. That feels so important. And it's just something that I want to scream from the mountaintops because I think it would help so many people.
Yeah, I was some of the things I wrote down were some very real examples, like Pest AI, for example, on the follow-up side of things. And just one little sliver, as you were saying that, I was thinking of the demo sequence. And so when somebody books a demo with us, they're receiving 4 to 5, maybe 6 emails up front before the demo about preparing for the demo.
Yeah.
Then they receive messages about the demo time to make sure that they show up. Then afterward, there's a series of 7 or 8 messages that they receive, emails that they receive from us to follow up in case they don't move forward immediately with you on the phone. And then there's even a text message to make sure that the emails don't get missed. And so there's systems to help protect the systems. And this is just one aspect of our business here.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where as you were saying it, it was kind of like, usually when you sit here in presentations, it's like, oh shoot, I need to do that. I need to do that. And there's plenty of those written down that I have here that some things I'm like, ooh, we need to go practice a little bit of what we're preaching. But when it comes to the bulk of this, man, it feels good to know that, we're at least going in the right direction. We have a lot of these things mapped out already. And that probably helps to, explain why we haven't run ads, why we don't do any outreach, and we grow 10% a month roughly at this point, almost not trying. Like we've made it difficult. Some of our systems have been very broken and we didn't realize it for months at a time. And people still signed up. So yeah, I mean, I can speak as a testament to this. This stuff works. It grows your business and it does so pretty predictably.
Yeah.
I do have some questions of what I wrote down though. I'd like some clarification from you if that's all right.
Sure.
Cool. So first thing I think is the mindset to go about it. And that's actually something that we're going to talk about a little bit next week, but the mindset of systems thinking here. And so when you think of that, how do you go about planning these systems to account for the differences between bugs and features? And just to kind of like clarify that, what I mean is every system has outcomes that are obviously going to be unwanted, and we like to call those bugs, but some of them are features of the system that we set up in itself. And so that's kind of what I'm curious about. How do you figure those out and work through those when you're in the planning phases?
I mean, I gotta honestly give a lot of credit to you on this because I have always been somebody who focuses on like the front end of a problem, right? This is the problem that we have. And, through working together over the years, what I've really realized is by focusing more on the end result and how to solve that, that's how we've been able to build systems. It's almost like you're working backwards, right? When you're just focusing on the problem, and you're trying to put something in place to fix it, it becomes almost like a mental block. And so personally, I've had to just really change how I approach struggles in our business and really start to focus on this is the solution. How do we get there and work my way backwards to what the problem actually was that we were solving? And so I think that has made all the difference. And it can be a little hard for that to make sense until you actually make that change on how you think about what you're trying to solve in your business. But I've seen it myself. Once you do it, it all becomes very clear.
I like that. Obviously, one of my favorite quotes, kind of a almost credo for my life, is to begin with the end in mind. And so, yeah, I'm always working backwards from the outcome that I'm after. So I appreciate you saying that. But that brings me to something really interesting. So you yourself have had pushback. I had to learn my own ways to do that. It's not something I naturally was thinking that way. Um, my question is, what is the most common pushback or challenge that you hear when you're trying to implement these? Because we do this every day. Like this isn't theoretical stuff. We set this up inside businesses of all sizes every single day. So from your perspective, what is the most common pushback or challenge that you hear when you try to implement this kind of system or automation? And then how do you get around that or help them through it? Maybe is a better way to say it.
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. It almost always is the existing process. And it goes back to when I mentioned busy hides broken. It's really hard to take people who are working really hard, right? And try to change the way that they're doing it without them feeling like you're saying they're doing it wrong. And that's never what we're doing. We're never saying, hey, you're doing something wrong, but it feels like that because you're working so hard, right? And I've seen this at all levels. I've seen this from executives. I've seen this from a customer service representative, an admin person. Like it, it's not one or the other. Everyone feels like when they're working really hard, they must be doing it how, how it should be done. And so when you try to come in and bring in these different systems, the hardest part is getting them to realize like, hey, this is for you. This is not telling you that you're doing it wrong. This is just another way that you could do it that's going to make your life easier, and it's going to make it more efficient, effective, and predictable for the business. And almost always, like once you get past that initial block and they see like, oh, for a salesperson, for example, like, oh, this automated follow-up, it's not replacing me. It's actually going to get me more sales. It's like my own little assistant, right? And then that clicks and they're like, oh, okay, I like this. Right. But at first they're like, no, I don't want to send this automated message. That's not me. Right. And the point is like, right, and you're talented and that's great, but that's not scalable. You're going to max out. You can't keep up as the business gets busier. Right. Other salespeople are going to get hired. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely the biggest piece there is in getting past that mental block.
To people that know me, this is going to sound funny because this is definitely not my area of interest or expertise. But it was kind of funny as you were saying that. I was thinking, where you're giving them the Iron Man suit, not Iron Man, right? So you're like giving them the ability and the tech and the cool things, but it's their decision of what they're going to do with it. It's not some autonomous thing that's going to come and just take over and change how everything goes. You're not going to lose your voice. People are still going to appreciate you, all of that. So I love that. There's something that I've said for years that I believe through and through. And I started thinking about this back in the car days, and it's that bad sales reps work for good sales reps. And I know that sounds crazy to think of, but it's something that I feel like you demonstrated through here. And so I've kind of created a little corollary that bad systems work for good systems. And so what I mean by that, just to give some context, is you can do a lot of the right things, right? Some things I disagree with. You can't create demand. You can channel demand, things like that. But once it's channeled and it's in there and you have it, you could do everything right. You could give your best presentation. You could dig. You could understand the customer journey. You could do all those things. But if the systems aren't in place for you to actually convert that deal, as you mentioned, and this is something we used to harp on, people are still going to go buy that car. They will go to any of the other places where
Right.
they can buy that car. And so when we're digging and we're finding and we're, carring them up or putting them on the right product or service or whatever the case may be, if we do not convert or do not have the systems to convert that, then all we're doing is giving a laydown to the next person who has that system in place. And so I've always believed that in sales, that a bad sales rep is one of the best things in the world for somebody like me, who I consider a good sales rep, because bad sales reps give me freebies. Love it. Way less work, way less education. Now, as you were saying that, I thought, man, that fits so well with systems. And I've seen it through and through. Whenever people, like, how many people come to us complaining about another system, and that's why they're there. They're not saying, I have this big problem I need to solve that there's no solve for. It's like, I've already tried to solve this and it's not working because of X, Y, and Z. And so it's almost like their broken system keeps us from having to have some hard closing sales pitch. Instead, we're just like, oh, yeah, we fixed that. They sold it for us.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of curious, when you go through that, how do you figure out, how do you keep in mind through this whole process who you work for?
Mm, it's a good question. I think, at least for us, it's not ever about selling somebody on past AI, right? It really is about, like you said, finding out what's the problem that they currently have and offering a solution to that. And as a as a salesperson, as a business owner, it's really easy to get caught up in, I want to sell every single person that I talk to. But it's true. I really have to oftentimes take a step back and focus on, hey, I'm here for you and your business. I'm not focusing on mine. If I focus on you and your business, my business will grow. That's what's so great about Pest AI is we get to grow by helping other businesses grow. And so what I've realized over time is we're really focusing on them, our results are inevitable, right? Um, but that brings its own challenges, right? Because sometimes you have to really force somebody to understand and look at what is actually broken in their business. Again, because they're so busy, they don't even always see it. And so it can come off as like, oh, you're trying to sell me this thing. I'm like, I'm really not. You just have a problem and you don't even realize it. And I have a solution and I'm just trying to give it to you,
Yeah,
you know?
I like that a lot. You said in the Declaration of Standards, which I love. I feel like that's something we should publish on our new site. One of the ones you mentioned was visibility. For those that have watched, I've brought this up before because it's something that I mean, I don't know. I could put it on my board. I could tattoo it on my face, and it still wouldn't be close enough to me. It's just something that I believed for a long time. As soon as the numbers started making sense to me, and I understood what you were saying about the predictability. And fortunately for cars, I came from a good spot. It's such an old industry. One of the first things I was taught wasn't actually how to sell something; it was how to track what I was going to sell.
Right.
And so it was all about forecasting. And so that was great. But the quote that has stuck out to me, it's from management consulting. And so, our motto in the US is in God we trust, right? Great. So the quote is in God we trust, all others must bring data. And so like that visibility piece that you talked about was so big for me because you also said later that the average that good systems make average reps perform well. And I feel like those two kind of go together there. Because when we have visibility into the real actions, the real activities, and how they correlate to outcomes, man, it really kind of like blows this whole thing open. It makes it so much easier to go in and diagnose and find the problems and then make the changes that need to happen. And that leads me to kind of my final big question for you. If people are going to go after this masterclass and they're going to break down and really maybe even for the first time start dissecting their system with different eyes that they've never had because of what you've shown us. So my question is where, as always, where do they start? What is the most critical first step? And
Yeah.
how long should they expect to be doing the thing before they see a reward or an outcome from the thing?
I think if you don't have this implemented in your business at all, the first and most important step in the right direction is getting all of your opportunities in one place and having it tracked through the entire sales cycle. Because if you don't know where it's going or where it's breaking down, nothing really else matters if you're trying to scale. And you can't fix it if you can't see it, right? So get a CRM, get something if you don't have it. If you have a system, if you have leads coming into your email and leads coming into Yelp and Thumbtack and Angie and Google LSA and all these different places, right? You think you have visibility to them because you can go here and go there and go, but it's all broken down into these siloed sections. When you bring it all together, you could see the entire picture. And for me, at least, that was the difference. And that's where I started. And then from there, everything else can fall into place. Now you can automate. Now you can see what needs to be fixed. You can actually help sales reps who are struggling because now you know where in the cycle they are struggling, right? Some people have trouble with that first conversation. Some people have trouble following up. Some people have trouble, down the line when it gets to closing. It varies from industry to industry, but seeing all of that really is the key. And once you can see that, then you can fix the problems that you have.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that's easily the first thing that everyone should do. Map it out and then get your data. See what the data says, right?
Yeah.
And that removes all the feeling, the subjective ideas about it, and just makes it a black and white thing. This is off. If we pull this lever, we should see this outcome out of it.
Yeah. And it's not about, it's not about finding where people are messing up. It's just about being able to see what's actually happening in the business so that everyone can effectively work to fix those breakdowns.
Makes sense. Okay, Anthony. Well, I know it's month end, so I know exactly what's on our calendar for the day. It's going to be one of those days, but I appreciate you taking the time out to come share this. For those that don't know, this was actually something that Anthony was invited to speak on a national stage about this week. And so I actually asked him to come and share with us as well, just so that we could get a little bit of that experience for those of us that didn't travel to Louisiana. I think you got out of it as well, thanks to the storm, right?
Yeah, it would have been fun to be in person, but doing it digitally was still fun. Although I will say,
Yeah.
I think it was better this time. I had a little bit of practice.
There we go. Well, that's I'm glad you went and practiced on someone else. We got the good version. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate everyone for watching this. If you have questions, comments, concerns, as usual, please drop them in the comment below this video if you're in the class vault. If you want to bring this to the community and actually have a conversation about it, we want to have a conversation. Anthony is inside of the Sell More Mastermind already. And so as his schedule allows, he will absolutely answer you. And I'm happy to jump in and talk about what we're doing at Pest AI or what we've done with multiple other companies through the years. So again, I appreciate everyone being here. Please continue to think more in systems, to think more about automation. And now that I'm kind of running with it, we'll just say, get your Iron Man suit. Don't replace your whole system with a bot. Just get you a suit that makes you and your team more effective. And that's really what we want to do, is find ways to make it easier to sell more, of course, without more effort. We don't want to have to go to some crazy extreme lengths just to get an extra sale, when really, as you said multiple times throughout this, the leads aren't really the issue. The issue is what happens once they come in, and how do we continually put them into that loop. So, we've all heard the saying, they either buy or die from us eventually, right? And that's kind of what happens once they enter our ecosystem. So if you have questions on how to implement any of this, if you want more detail or just want to chat about it, let's have those conversations. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week for more master classes. Thanks again, Anthony. Everybody, have a great day. Go sell more.